on the WHOW streams. We provide farmers and ranchers with timely insights and information aimed at improving their operations. Join me, Chip Flory, weekdays at 10:06 on Central Illinois Ag Station, WHOW.
From the Hart Media Group newsroom and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this expanded morning newscast. Good morning and thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Ben Hubbard. The news is brought to you by Baum Chevy Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, as well as Connexus, offering fiber internet in Clinton. Click their icon on DeWittDailyNews.com to find out more. The rising popularity of electric and gas-powered bicycles across Lincoln is bringing increased scrutiny from local law enforcement as officers address traffic complaints and navigate new state regulations. Lincoln Police Chief Joe Meister explains his department regularly receives complaints regarding e-bikes and gas-assisted bicycles, particularly concerning operators cutting through parking lots, disregarding traffic signals, and riding on high-speed roadways like Woodlawn Road and Keokuk Street.
Yeah, they're very popular in Lincoln. A lot of people use both e-bikes and gas-powered bicycles that they build on their own. A lot of times we respond to complaints about the way people are operating those e-bikes and gas-powered bicycles. We have a lot of complaints about avoiding traffic devices like stoplights and things, cutting through parking lots to get through, operating them on streets that they shouldn't be operating them on, such as like Woodlawn Road and Keokuk, in areas where the speed limit is higher on those streets. They're prevalent. A lot of times people that don't have a driver's license are using them to get around, because up until the new legislation passed, weren't required to have a license for most of those types of vehicles.
Chief Meister notes that while e-bikes historically required no licensing, newly enacted Illinois legislation is introducing stricter standards. Certain higher speed or higher wattage models now require a valid driver's license, with additional registration and insurance requirements set to roll out in future phases.
There's different classes of electronic bicycles and also different classes of gas-powered bicycles. For certain classes, you will be required to have a valid driver's license to operate them. I think for the e-bikes, it's anything over 750 watts. Any e-bike or gas bicycle, again, give me some forgiveness on this because I've read the law once. It just was passed July 1st, and portions of it have gone into effect and others haven't. But anything that goes over 28 miles an hour, I think you have to have a license as well. And then in the following July in 2027, there'll be registration and insurance requirements, just like, for your cars or motorcycles.
Regardless of vehicle classification or power source, the chief emphasizes all riders are legally bound by standard rules of the road, including stopping at stop signs and wearing required eye protection on motorized or gas-powered cycles.
I think it's a fantastic idea. They can be dangerous, especially in higher populated areas, because they're mixing in with traffic. I think that's what drove the law, from my understanding. I read some information from the Secretary of State website that lawmakers made the decision to regulate these bicycles, if you want to call them that, more strictly due to fatal and injury crashes that have occurred, and I think that was more in the higher populated area.
In response to nighttime activity, the Lincoln Police Department is actively stepping up night shift enforcement. Chief Meister points out that city ordinance allows officers to impound bicycles for up to 30 days for equipment violations, such as riding without proper lighting, a tool being used to deter criminal activity and keep the community safe.
Obviously, whether it's a regular pedal bicycle, an electronically powered one, or a gas-powered one, they still have to follow the rules of the road. So that includes stopping at stop signs. growing up, a lot of kids don't learn that. You ride right through them. I know I did when I was a kid growing up in a small town. They are required to follow all those rules of the road. Anytime you're riding a powered bicycle or a moped, something like that, you have to wear glasses just like you do if you're operating a motorcycle. There's all kinds of laws that apply to, especially on night shift. We recognized a trend probably a couple of years ago where some people that had bad intentions were using bicycles to travel around town or e-bikes to travel around town, hauling a cart behind them to carry away stolen property after they've committed a theft or burglary. I asked for an increase in traffic enforcement on those bikes during the nighttime hours. And the city ordinance that we have also provides for towing and impounding a bike for a violation, like not having a light on it. So we can impound that bicycle for like up to 30 days, which if the person is using it as a method to go from crime to crime, we're taking those wheels away from them and making it harder for them to continue. So the increase in enforcement was specifically related to that.
That's crazy.
Not just for safety of the people using those bicycles.
For more information on local traffic ordinances or bicycle safety guidelines, residents can contact the Lincoln Police Department. Coming up shortly on this expanded newscast, July is National Ice Cream Month. As we roll into August, Central Illinois crops could use one last rain event to carry them to the finish. That's according to Reagan Tibbs, commercial ag educator at the University of Illinois Extension in Logan, Menard, and Sangamon counties, who told the Heart Media Group on the WHOW morning show Thursday that things are starting to get a bit dry, although drought concerns seem to be isolated.
Yeah, definitely. This has been one of the more interesting growing seasons. We had a lot of rain in June, which was really awesome to see and help get these crops a really good start. And then July is one of the driest months of the year. Obviously there are some places that have had some pop-up rain showers every here and there. I mean, just on Monday, I was in Petersburg on Monday, and in Petersburg itself, it hardly rained. But you cross the river and go just to the east of Petersburg, and they got a few tenths of rain. So there's just the stark difference of a couple miles really is something interesting. But you're absolutely right. We're looking at those flash drought conditions. The National Drought Monitor, which updates their data every Thursday and publishes it for Illinois in this part of the state, we're not seeing any drought conditions just yet. Now, there might be some local drought conditions, certainly, but in terms of how the Drought Monitor classifies things, we're not seeing any drought conditions. Now, there are other parts of the state which we're seeing drought. For example, up in northern Illinois, kind of in the Rockford area, kind of that along the Wisconsin border, they're seeing some drought conditions. And there are parts of southern Illinois which are seeing some. And then also just on the west side of the Illinois River, there's some areas that are seeing drought conditions as well. So hopefully, I think there's some rain in the forecast for tomorrow and over the weekend. So hopefully that gives us just a little bit enough to prevent those flash drought conditions. But definitely seeing some of those conditions setting on, and wouldn't be surprised to see if we get the drought classifications over the next coming days.
With the hot and humid conditions of July, Tibbs indicates there is starting to be some disease pressure showing up.
Things are looking pretty well. It's really hard to find a spot that isn't growing very well. I mean, at this point, all the parts that, were flooded or that had a lot of standing water throughout much of June, those parts are flooded out and there's crops that didn't grow in those spots. But in every other spot that I've been seeing, looking at really, really strong growing conditions. The last week or so when we had really, really hot and humid weather, really sticky, those are some of the best conditions for crop diseases we've been seeing. There was an article posted on Monday by Boris Camilletti, who's one of our crop physiologists who focuses on crop diseases. And he talked about that we're starting to see southern rust here in Illinois now. We've had these really hot conditions, really humid, and those are the perfect type of conditions for southern rust and other diseases like tar spot to come in as well. So it kind of varies different parts of the state. There's some counties here in the central part of the state. I think McLean County is one that has southern rust and tar spot. There are parts of southern Illinois as well, kind of all over the place. The Crop Protection Network does a really good job of putting together a map where you can then filter through different crop diseases and see where they are present at and where they were present at in the previous year as well. The Crop Protection Network is a group of researchers and crop scientists from around the country who get together and put out information on different crop diseases, different crop conditions, and then what are the best approaches to handling those. And so the maps that they put out and the information and resources they have are really beneficial when it comes to deciding whether or not treatment is needed for those diseases.
According to Tibbs, producers are in a wait-and-see cycle as they look to the war in Iran and other macroeconomic factors as the growing season rolls on. He indicates commodity prices have been a roller coaster this summer.
Kind of see how August goes. I think if we get a little bit of rain here, kind of beginning of August, it'll kind of help it finish out nicely. Because now we're kind of on that downward slope, right? We're at kind of reaching our peak maturity and our peak in the reproductive part of the growth stages. And so moving forward, now we'll kind of start to see the wind down of it, right? We'll start to see crops dry out. We'll kind of reach that full maturity, and we'll get even a better idea now on yields. And where yields will go or where they could be at moving forward for this fall. I'll tell you, commodity prices have been all over the place lately. I think there were a couple of days ago where, both corn and beans were having really strong rally days where we saw our prices for new crop really go up. Then the next day they erased basically all of those gains. So they're really kind of all over the place. I think we're all just kind of in this kind of wait and see period. We're not quite to the point yet where we can fully estimate where our yields are going to be at. Definitely over August, we'll start to see and hear about where yields could be as different parts of the Midwest and other parts of the United States do their kind of yield tours. So once we start hearing that, I think we'll see a lot more movement on commodity markets.
Tibbs is releasing a new blog post in the midst of the busy summer fair season in the next few days. Follow his writings at extension.illinois.edu/LMS for more from him and other experts at the extension. You're listening to the WHOW Morning Show. Let's take a quick break with a word from our sponsors.
Chevrolet is the heartbeat of America, and now is the time to celebrate our nation's birthday in a new Chevrolet. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton and Farmer City, inviting you to come see our selection of Chevrolets, like the sporty Chevrolet Trax and the good-looking Trailblazer. We also have a good selection of Chevrolet Equinox and the full-size Traverse. Chevrolet, together let's drive. BaumChevyBuick.com, right from the start.
It's the quiet moments you count on. A call that connects instantly, a show that never buffers, a home that just works. That's the difference with Connexus Fiber Internet. We built a buried fiber network designed for consistency, earning us the title of top-rated fiber internet provider in Illinois. With plans starting as low as $25 a month and 3-year price lock options, it's reliability you can feel without the unpredictability. Because with Connexus, connection means everything. Experience better at Connexus.com. Nothing Connexus like Connexus.
News time is 21 minutes after the top of the hour. You're listening to the WHOW Morning Show. The summer heat creates the perfect conditions for enjoying a frozen treat. As we get set to turn the page to August, Monica Nyman with the St. Louis District Dairy Council reminds that July is National Ice Cream Month. She says July has had this designation for over 40 years and was created by President Ronald Reagan.
So it has been around since 1984, and President Ronald Reagan is actually the one. He loved ice cream. He thought it was the most perfect dessert, and so he declared July as National Ice Cream Month way back then. And so we've been celebrating ever since, especially in July. It's definitely warm. We had some really warm days this month, and hopefully we don't have to face that looking ahead into August. But people just really love ice cream. It's just a really great dessert to enjoy. A lot of people are doing cookouts and backyard barbecues, pool parties, different things where you're outside. And so ice cream just fits. It's just it's just a great option for some of those really warm days. There is a National Ice Cream Day. It already passed, but it's always the third Sunday of July. And so a lot of social media posts you'll see with that. A lot of different local area ice cream shops will do specials on July Ice Cream Day. So yeah, we love talking about ice cream. Of course, June was Dairy Month, and so my kids always say every month is Dairy Month, and it's kind of true.
While Nyman emphasizes that ice cream is a sugary dessert and the serving size is only around a half cup, she says that it does have some calcium and protein because it is a dairy product.
So as a registered dietitian, I do have to say ice cream is a dessert. It's not something that we recommend having endless amounts of because it does have a lot of calories. So to kind of answer that question for you, generally, the serving size is about a half of a cup. Okay, that's not very much. It's about the size of a tennis ball. So if you actually measure your ice cream into your bowl, it's you're going to say, where's the rest of it? Okay. So use a smaller bowl because then it looks bigger. And so it is made with milk though. And so because of that, it does have a little bit of calcium and it has a little bit of protein. So comparatively to like a cake or cookies, it is going to have a little bit more nutrition. But don't forget, circling back to all of those things that we talked about at the beginning of the show, the portion controlled ice cream novelties, the frozen yogurt, the lower fat versions, the sugar-free versions. There really is something for everyone's lifestyle, like kind of depending on what you're looking at. Like if you're looking at reducing calories, maybe you go with the frozen yogurt bar that only has 70 versus the full fat, like I want all those 250 calories in my half a cup, which does taste amazing, by the way. So it really just depends on what your nutrition goals are, but it can fit in moderation and because it is a dessert.
Nyman indicates that there is a type of ice cream for everyone, from pints to novelties, sugar-free or frozen yogurt. Outside of the grocery store, there are even more options like gelato or frozen custard.
If you just go to the grocery store, there are a lot of different options. So you have basically full fat ice cream. And if you notice that it says dairy dessert, that's actually, it's not quite enough milk fat to be called ice cream. Okay. So if it says dairy dessert, that means it has not that much fat in it. Okay. There's also frozen yogurt. And so that's a good option for people who are trying to watch calories. There are specialty products. So for people that are looking at, keto diet or things like that, there are some combinations where it's maybe a really high fat content, but like lower in carbohydrate.
Okay.
There's sugar-free options. So those are made with artificial sweeteners for people who are watching their carbohydrates or calories. And then you have novelties. And basically a novelty is like a pre-packaged item. Okay. So I think those are helpful for people who are trying to watch their calories because it's like a package where you eat the bar and then it's gone. You're not like scooping and filling your huge bowl.
Yes,
So it's either a bar, a stick, a popsicle of some kind,
It's
or
packaged.
ice cream bar. So those are novelties. So there's lots of flavor combinations. Sometimes I notice that there's more flavor added than actual ice cream if it's a candy bar or something. So kind of be cautious of that. Overall, there are a lot. I mean, if you go to the grocery store, like one entire freezer case is totally filled with just different options. And then you have all of your ice cream shops. And so there's frozen custard, there's soft serve, there's gelato, there's the kind that they chop on the frozen cutting board almost. The kind that they roll. I don't know if you've ever had that before.
We'll have more next week with Nyman on how you can make your ice cream and milkshakes healthier from the Heart Media Group. In the meantime, learn more by visiting stldairycouncil.org or by finding them on Facebook. With less than a week until high school football practice begin, the Illinois High School Association wants to address a growing concern, a shortage of qualified officials. IHSA Executive Director Craig Anderson lays out the groundwork to become a licensed official.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, as we run into a new year, our officials, anybody who goes out to watch, we see some of the same officials and they're getting older. We had in this past month and this earlier this month, we recognized at an officials conference that we host annually our years of service. And we recognized a 60-year official and a number of 50-year officials. And so, we need some folks that haven't done it before, that have the energy to sign up, and it's a very simple process. They can go to our website. We have a separate officials tab and a site solely for officials, and then it's how to become an official. Follow that link, and there are obviously then some questions that'll be asked. There's a licensing fee to pay, and then there'll be opportunities to receive a rules book and then study the rules, take a test, attend a clinic to find out more about the rules. And positioning on the field or court, or we're on the track, wherever it might be, and then people can come out and help us with the shortage that we have.
Games begin August 20th and 21st. The Grand American Championships are underway at the World Shooting and Recreational Complex in Sparta. The event runs through August 8th and is hosted by the Amateur Trap Shooting Association.
Well, we have a number of activities. For one, it's trap shooting, so there's events every day of singles trap, handicap trap, doubles trap throughout that entire 10-day period. We have people that come as competitors and members from all around the world. We have almost 100 people come from Brazil, believe it or not, to take part in the Grand American Championships during the events. We have people from Australia, New Zealand, Great Britain, Canada, of course.
ATA's Randy Moeller says this is the 20th year the event has been held at the World Shooting and Recreational Complex. The Grand American has a deep history dating back 127 years. Get news anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. A ruling by Spain's Supreme Court, along with the policies of the socialist government, has unleashed a migrant invasion. Thousands of migrants, many of them young men from Morocco, flooding into the Spanish enclave of Ceuta. So far, 18 migrants have died trying to reach that Spanish territory. Fresh hopes for a path to peace in the Mideast. President Trump's multinational board of peace announcing a deal that would see Hamas disarm and Israel pull its forces back from Gaza. Cyber attacks on more than 30 water utilities in Minnesota earlier this week. The incidents under investigation. The death toll from the Japanese earthquake has risen. It's now up to 34. On Wall Street, stock futures pointing to a higher open later in the morning. The Dow futures up 292 points. NASDAQ futures 327 points higher. More details at srnnews.com.
If you're drowning in IRS debt and can't afford to pay, then you need to take advantage of special IRS tax programs that are available and free yourself from IRS collection efforts once and for all. Due to the financial hardship consumers are facing throughout the country, the Internal Revenue Service has made it easier to settle delinquent tax problems. An open phone line has been established by Community Tax for consumers to call and see if they qualify. Take down this number or store it in your cell phone, but call the Community Tax Helpline, 800-305-6762. If you owe back taxes to the IRS and cannot afford to pay them back, or even if you have years of unfiled tax returns, there's no need to fear anymore. But you have to call the Community Tax Helpline today at 800-305-6762 for the help that you need. Don't take on the IRS alone. They can attack your wages, savings, pension, home, and even your Social Security check. That's 800-305-6762 for your free consultation and to see if you qualify. That's 800-305-6762.
From the Hart Media Group Sports Desk, IL Sportswire, and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this local sports report. Tristan Peters drew a bases-loaded walk in the 11th inning to force an automatic runner, Chase Maydra, and the Chicago White Sox edged the New York Yankees 2-1 on Thursday, beating New York in extra innings for a second straight game.
For the second straight game, the White Sox and Yankees played some bonus baseball after matching zeros, 18 of them up on the scoreboard. It took extras before either team could play to run. Both pushed across their Manfred man in the 10th, but after the night, Sir Anthony Dominguez shut down the Yanks in the 11th. The Sox loaded the bases with Tristan Peters in position to walk it off for a second straight day.
The 3-0. It is high, and the game is over. Tristan Peters with a game-ending walk.
Boy, Christmas has come early in the last 2 days playing these Yankees.
A literal walk-off. Back-to-back walk-off winners for the first-place White Sox. Good guys head to Tampa Bay this weekend. Pre-game coverage for the series opener on Friday night starts at 5:30 on the ESPN Chicago Hard Rock Casino White Sox Network.
The White Sox will try to keep the momentum going as they kick off a weekend series with Tampa Bay. Pregame for tonight's outing on WHOW is at 5:30 p.m. Alex Bregman drove in the go-ahead run with a 10th inning double, and the Chicago Cubs went on to a 4-2 win over the St. Louis Cardinals on Thursday. Bregman went 9 for 18 as the Cubs took 3 games in the 4-game series with 6 doubles, a home run, and 3 RBIs. Bregman scored the final run on a double play by Ian Happ off Luis Gastelum, who is 2-2. Jacob Webb is 4-2 and pitched 1 1/3 innings of relief for the win, and Aaron Savali finished to get his first save of the season. Nico Horner had 3 of Chicago's 11 hits. Chicago improved to 9-6 in extra inning games this season, while St. Louis fell to 8-5. Right-handed starter Javier Assad gave up 1 run on 6 hits in 4 1/3 innings for the Cubs. Cardinals starter Andre Palante went 6 1/3 innings, allowing 2 runs on 7 hits. A 1-out home run by rookie J.J. Weatherholt in the 7th off Caleb Thielbar pulled the Cardinals even at 2-2. Palante was lifted after giving up a 1-out walk to Dansby Swanson. Michael Busch hit a 1-2 changeup to left with 2 outs off reliever George Soriano, scoring Swanson for a 2-1 lead in the 7th. The Cubs tied it at 1-1 on a throwing error by right fielder Lars Nootbaar. Bregman doubled with 1 out. Ian Happ hit a fly back to the fence. Bregman tagged and went to third and dashed home when Weatherholt couldn't catch Nootbaar's high throw to the infield. Brian Torres singled home Nootbaar with 1 out in the 2nd inning, giving St. Louis a 1-0 lead. St. Louis right-hander Kyle Leahy is 7-4 with a 3.55 ERA and takes on Toronto's right-hander Dylan Cease, who is 7-6 with a 2.46 ERA on Friday. Chicago lefty Shoto Imanaga is 7-8 with a 3.72 ERA and will go against New York Yankees right-hander Will Warren, who is 7-5 with a 4.41 ERA on Friday. In scores from around the MLB yesterday, the Tampa Bay Rays beat the Texas Rangers 3-2, while the Minnesota Twins took down the Kansas City Royals 4-3. The New York Mets beat the Miami Marlins 4-2, while the Cincinnati Reds beat the Pittsburgh Pirates 3-2. The Atlanta Braves took down the Washington Nationals 5-4, while the Boston Red Sox beat the Athletics 5-4. The San Francisco Giants beat the San Diego Padres 4-1, and the Los Angeles Dodgers took down the Seattle Mariners 6-2. The Chicago Bears defense struggled much of last year at stopping the run, rushing the passer, and staying healthy, but the one thing it could do was intercept passes. Now, a rebuilt secondary might need time to pull together, and it's questionable whether it actually improved at rushing the passer or stopping the run. It may need another big takeaway year like last season when it picked off 23 passes and recovered 10 fumbles. At the outset of practices, the Bears have 2 different safeties in veteran Kobe Bryant and rookie Dylan Thieneman, and they have shuffled through 3 or 4 players at nickel cornerback with Kyler Gordon out because of a calf muscle injury. Bryant, the former Seattle Seahawks safety and Super Bowl champion, brings speed and another asset to their secondary. Having cornerback Jalen Johnson back healthy after an injury-plagued 2025 and the return of TJ Edwards from a season-ending broken leg later in camp should further improve personnel, but overall problems with personnel on the defensive line and new players in the secondary could persist until proven otherwise. Green Bay Packers cornerback Keeson Nixon wanted no part of any conversations about his contract situation on Thursday, but Nixon did want to make one thing clear. He didn't miss the Packers' first practice of training camp to demonstrate his dissatisfaction with his contract. If Nixon remains concerned about his contract, which calls for him to earn $4.3 million base salary this season in the final year of a 3-year, $18 million deal, he wouldn't say no. Nixon's $6 million annual average salary makes him the 41st highest paid cornerback in the league. The 29-year-old Nixon started all 18 games, including the playoffs last season, and was named to the NFC's Pro Bowl team as an alternate. He finished the year with 78 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, a fumble recovery, and a career-high 17 pass breakups and 1 interception. A victory-clinching end-zone pick in a 28-21 victory over the rival Chicago Bears at Lambeau Field on December 7th. When Nixon didn't practice Wednesday, rookie second-round pick Brandon Cease worked with the starting defense. With Nixon back, he and Carrington Valentine were the starting cornerbacks. Both Nixon and Valentine admitted Thursday that there have been some challenges to transitioning from previous defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley's system to the one new coordinator Jonathan Gannon runs, making every training camp practice snap count. Get highlights of your local high school program by finding IL SportsWire on your preferred social media platforms, and get local sports anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com.
This is staff meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki with your regional radio forecast.